Alright, so I'm going to use the Loctite spray adhesive. It works real good. I've used it before, usually just to tuck the ends of the foam in. But for this, I'm going to go ahead and my piece of cardboard and spray these parts here, and then stick it back on there, and it should work just fine. There we go. Haven't used it in a while, so I got a little crusty. This takes no time to set up and stick. Do the edges real good. We will let it set up for a few minutes. Works perfectly. And it works pretty fast too. I want the edges along here to be really good. And it'll puff out a little bit with this. I expect that to look like that a little bit. And then the upholstery go over the top and then screwed in. Maybe I need a film crew. Probably not. I don't know anyone that'll work for free, except my son when I can convince him to do so. But he's a busy guy. All right, I'm gonna let that sit a little bit and then we'll come back to it. Okay, so the back's on there pretty firm. And then I want to show you now, I'm using just some coat hanger, but you run down to Ace and get some more, but I had some old coat hanger. I use this to help tie up the springs a little bit, stiffen them up a little bit. Now this is the back, so it's not too bad, but you can see how this presses in against here. I want to get these a little bit tighter, and just to bind them together, because this one's tight, this one's not very tight, this one's very tight. So if I kind of tie these together a little bit, they'll kind of hold each other in place and won't let it sag too much. And it's not a big deal, but it's just a little something extra I like to do. And again, I'm just using regular old coat hanger, and I make myself a nice little loop to tie these together tight, and then cut them off and tighten it up, making sure you don't have any pointed spots that'll puncture the upholstery. So you tuck those in really good. Excuse my petrol box shirt. Just kidding. No, I'm not kidding. It's a petrol box shirt. So usually I just cut a little chunk off. Make myself a nice little loop here. And then I'll hook it on one and then tighten it up on the other a little bit. Sometimes, actually, you know what? I should probably do it with this one. Sometimes I'll take a longer piece and I'll thread it all the way through, and I just decided that's what I'm going to do with this one. And if you weave it a little bit, and I got that from doing the Mustang ones, up and over, it'll help pull these together a little bit. Let me get this ready for here. again, I want the hooks to all go towards the cushion side because it won't hurt the cushion side so much. It pokes into the cushion. We don't want to do any of that, but it happens. So usually I do an up and over scenario. Now this is a little bit better because this actually has the brace. You can use this as a brace. You can see these have been rubbing against that for a long time. But again, that would make an uncomfortable ride. And if you know anything about C3s, you want to do some long distance traveling, they are hard on the body, even the young body, not old bodies like myself. So I'm going to do that firm thing here. I'll get that all the way over. And I've weaved it through several of these. Just a little bit of tightness on there while I pull on it a little bit. That's going to give it a little more strength. And I usually hook it back up on itself. Like so. And that gives me a nice firm push on that. And it supports each other a little bit better. Bend that over a little bit better. Okay. That's going to have to come through a little bit more on the other side. And even though it doesn't look that pretty, it does stabilize that up a little bit. See how this doesn't even pushing? I mean, eventually if I push hard enough, it'll go down there. But the reality is it's not, it's a lot stiffer than how it started out. I need to crimp this a little bit more so it stays off of there. There we go, perfect. So a little tighter, a little more support, and then we're almost ready to put the cushion on. A little bit, so it comes like this way. There we go. That one's going to be nice and tight. And you see how this fits on here. It's going to be perfect. Okay, so I'm going to go on with the foam that I purchased, and I'll get the brand name for you and stick it on the bottom. But that's near perfect. And then, of course, that little bit of play there will be tucked in by the upholstery. So the idea is get this placed where you want it. I've got to stop for a second or two and run these through. As I looked at this, these are really thick and they're wavy. These are the ones that run along. And I was looking at how these the best way to do that with this. Now it was different than the Mustang again, because if you go back and look, well, that's not what you did in the Mustang. Well, no, it isn't what I did in the Mustang. But I'm going to do this a bit differently. And as I noticed when I was taking this apart, these were pretty much hog-nosed right to here. And I think that's going to work out really well because I get them in the right spot. And all I've got to do is run hog-nose into these cracks here and hook them into the loops rather than to the springs. Now with the Mustang, I did a little bit of everything. But I think for this one, I'm just going to do it that way. So that requires me to go ahead and put another to hog-nose these in. But I actually have to get them in the right spot on the springs so that I can get to them easily. And it looks like it's going to be right about there. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but you do have to be able to get it. So I'm going to show you real quick. So just for this, actually I'm going to do it on this other video and I'll splice it in. That way you can see a little better and I don't have to keep moving the camera all the time. All right, so what I've done is I put them on very inside, the first inside bottom loop. Well, not bottom loop, but the first inside loop, full loop on the spring. And that lines up very well. If I set this like this, it lines up very well with the lines, with the seam. You can see the seam here. Get that right about there. That's going to be perfect. And the other one's going to be perfect. So I'm going to run them right about here. So if you're actually doing this, it'll be the first full down one from the edge. The first full down loop from the edge. And so I'm going to just go up and I'm going to hog nose those in there. You'll be able to see that. I'll do it on the big camera, on the other camera over here. And then you'll see how that works. And then eventually I'll just come through here with the hog nose rings and clamp them onto here. I think that makes the most sense. So we're going to do that. Now I'm trying not to get the film, I'm going to try to get the foam too dirty, but again, it's just my preference. It doesn't really matter. So hog nose pliers. And again, the first seam right down here. And you'll see that better on the other one. Let me get this. And again, I'm always protecting the original tags wherever they are. So drop that inside here. There we go. So again, you set the hog nose rings up inside the pliers, like so. Then I'm going to come down here. And trying something out here. Yeah, I'm going to do just like that. So I'm going to do this, but I'm going to have you, but I'm also going to get it on this other, on my other camera too. So I'm going to come down and you can see how I'm going to grab right there at that X. And then I just pinch the pliers. And I've got myself a nice little loop. It's going to wiggle a little bit until I get these other ones in here. But I'm going to repeat the same thing. Let me do one more. Let me set this one up. Get it set up. Maybe. There we go. Get it all set up in there. Then I'll come down. And I'm going to continue. Another tight one. Good. And then I'm going to do 1, 2, 3 more. 2 more. Same way. Now this wiggles a little bit, but once I actually get the frame or to get the foam hog nose in, it'll be pretty solid. Again, the Mustang was a little bit different. It had more places, and I could actually hog nose this a lot tighter. But see, you can see in there that's still, and they're wrinkled for a reason, so they don't slide so easily. I mean, twisted. You can see the curve, maybe. That's what it's. I think you've seen it before, but you can see as I rotate that a little bit, you see this. It's wavy, and that keeps it from sliding too much. So I'm gonna do the same thing over here. That took 4. By the way, when you're doing this, don't spill your rings. That can be devastating. Like I probably should put into something else. just so I don't do that. And again, you can go back to the video that I will have stuck in there. Insert it into this main video, and you'll see how this works. In fact, you know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to hog nose this extra wire I put in here. To stiffen this up, I'm going to hog nose that a little bit. And that'll tighten that up some too. Alright. Alright, so they're in there pretty good. I hog nosed this extra wire that I placed in there really good. And now we got to do the foam. Alright, so you can see this whole thing's pretty solid. And now I got to put the foam on. By the way, I think I may have said this, but I'll say it again. These wires that run along the main parts of the foam are wavy and thick. The ones that run inside the upholstery are very thin and smooth. All right, so the foam goes on. It's my favorite part.